All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the core message of a website that lays out a really specific path to self-knowledge, all within an Islamic framework. It offers a pretty unique take on spiritual growth, guidance, and even what prayer is all about. So, yeah, let's get into it. So let's jump right to the heart of it, to what is maybe the most provocative claim in the whole source material. This one idea is the bedrock for everything else we're about to unpack.
Okay, so right out of the gate, it makes this huge distinction. The argument is that in Islam, the spiritual path is all about moving forward, constantly evolving, and then it says that for all other religions, that response is either stuck in place or it just goes in circles. It's cyclical and/or static.
And you can really picture what they mean by that, right? On one hand, you've got this idea of a dynamic path, like always climbing, always progressing. And on the other, you have a path that's static, it's fixed, or it's cyclical, meaning you kind of just end up back where you started. This difference is absolutely fundamental to the entire argument being made here.
And this next point builds right on top of that. The source basically says, look, for a path to be truly dynamic and complete, it has to touch on every part of life. If it doesn't, it's seen as incomplete, maybe just temporary, or even just a product of nature rather than something divine.
Okay, so if you're on this dynamic journey, you're gonna need a guide, right? So who or what is that guide? Well, the answer given here is very, very specific, and it really challenges some common ideas about this. And it all starts with this massive question: what is the truest guide in life? I mean, it's a question we all wrestle with, isn't it? Do we look to other people, to books, to our own logic? Where do we get our direction? And the answer provided is, well, it's unmistakable. The ultimate guide isn't a human being, it's not a philosophy. The truest guide, it says, is Allah, or God, the one who not only knows the correct path, but actually implements it perfectly.
Now, to really get what's being said here, you have to know this one Turkish word, murshid. It usually means a spiritual teacher, a human mentor. But what this source does is it takes that concept and completely reframes it, saying, yeah, human guides exist, but the only true ultimate guide, the hakiki marshid, is God. And this is a really important clarification. The source isn't anti-science or anti-knowledge. Not at all. It just frames them differently. It says things like science and intellect, or ilim ve bilim in Turkish. They aren't the guide itself. They're the tools. They're essential for helping you on your search for truth, but they don't define the truth itself.
Okay, so let's get practical. How does this actually work? If God is the guide, how do you, get the guidance? Well, according to this material, the conversation starts with prayer. This is such a powerful way to think about prayer. It's presented not just as asking for things, but as the absolute peak expression of our deepest wants and needs. Think about it. What you pray for is a direct reflection of your own soul. It's like holding up a mirror to yourself. And it's not just go and pray. There's a whole process here, broken down into 3 steps. Step 1 is correct prayer, making sure what you're asking for is ethical, that it aligns with humane values. Step 2 is contemplation, or tefekkur, where you really think deeply about those prayers and about yourself. And finally, step 3 is trust in God, or tevekkul, which means after you've done the work, you let go and entrust the final out. And let's just zoom in on those last 2 words because they are absolutely central. Tefekkur, that's the act of work, the deep thinking and reflection. And tevekkul, that's the act of trust that comes after you've done your part. The key thing here is that these aren't just passive feelings. They're presented as active skills that you have to learn and develop. So what's the point of all this? Where does this path of guidance and contemplative prayer actually lead? Well, the promised outcome is something very personal and, honestly, very practical. And the key to that outcome is this concept called fitra. You can think of it as your innate nature, your core disposition, basically the personality you were created with. It's like the blueprint of who you are. So the argument goes like this. If you don't know your own fitrat, if you don't understand your own blueprint, you're going to end up making choices that don't fit you. You'll pick the wrong social circles, the wrong career, the wrong paths in life.
And that's where unhappiness and struggle come from.
But on the flip side, the reward for doing this spiritual work is profound self-awareness. When you understand your fitrat, you can start to consciously choose the people and the environments that are in harmony with who you truly are. You can build a life that actually fits you. So when you put it all together, this whole spiritual process, from guidance to prayer, isn't just about abstract ideas. It's aimed at a very tangible, real-world outcome, getting to know yourself on a deep level, finding your proper place in the world, and making choices that lead to a life that's genuinely more happy, peaceful, and conscious.
Finally, the source doesn't just throw these ideas out there and leave you hanging. It actually provides a number of concrete resources for anyone who wants to explore this path for themselves. So you've got things like films and articles, which is great. But they also offer direct Q&A, over the phone, email, or WhatsApp, so you can actually ask questions. And at the same time, they provide links to classical texts, like the Kutubu Sütte, so you can do your own deep dive research. It's an interesting blend of modern, accessible entry points and pathways to more traditional study.
Which leaves us with this final big question to think about. This whole framework positions faith not just as a belief system, but as the primary tool for self-discovery. It really makes you think about that deep intersection between what we believe and who we are, and how different worldviews try to help us answer that ancient call to know thyself. I'm your host, and this has been The Explainer.